Well, folks, this is part 2 of our analysis of some of the brightest minds on TikTok regarding the Israel-Hamas conflict. If you want to see part 1, go view that video over on our YouTube channel. This video is sponsored by our friends at ExpressVPN.
Today, about 70% of all Gazans are considered refugees from the 1948 expulsion.
Okay, pause that for a second. How is that even possible? Seriously, how's that even possible? When you say 70% of all Gazans are considered refugees from the 1948 expulsion, the only way to say that that is the case is by including, of course, all of the descendants of the people who were, quote unquote, expelled. And by expelled, we mean they moved 3 miles down the road from Ashkelon to the Gaza Strip. So what? Israel is supposed to accept back entire populations of people who seek their destruction. That's the goal here.
This predictably sparked a war. Yes, when you have colonial powers coming into a territory that does not belong to them and forcibly removing people from their land, it tends to get violent.
That's the end argument. The end argument, as always, that Israel is a colonialist occupying power, an outpost of the West. The Jews are not indigenous to the land. The Arabs are somehow magically indigenous to the land, despite the fact they come from, Arabia. And despite the fact that Islam is predated by Judaism by at least a millennium and a half. Obviously, the Jews are the original European settler colonialists. Doesn't matter that the vast majority of Jewish land in the run-up to 1948 was literally bought. It was purchased. It was not militarily secured. It doesn't matter. There was continuous Jewish presence in the land for thousands of years. The idea here is that the true original inhabitants of the land are the Palestinian Arabs, who did not even consider Palestinian Arab to be an actual national designation until the 1960s. All those Arabs were considered Transjordanian, or they were considered Syrian or Egyptian. Yasser Arafat, for example, was Egyptian. In the end, all it comes down to is this idea that the Jews are the colonialist occupiers. That's all it comes down to, which of course is the fundamental big lie at the root of all of this.
Yeah, but you're missing context. What about before Christ? Invoking the Bible as an excuse to ethnically cleanse a population from its territory is a baby-brained middle school argument.
Hold on a second. That's not that's what was in the claim. The claim is not that the Bible justifies Jewish ownership of the Jewish homeland. That's not the claim. The claim is that you are saying that original presence on the land is the historic justification for continued presence on the land. And so I'm saying the Jews predated the Palestinians, which is true by every possible measure. That has nothing to do with the Bible. That has to do with a basic historical argument.
In my frustration last night, after seeing the 100th...
How fast does Hamas kill this lady, by the way?
I decided to check out the location tag of Tel Aviv on Instagram just to see what the people of Israel were dealing with. And the results were quite telling.
As you can see, they're hanging out, they're taking selfies, they're ordering sushi. This is a photo from the beach. They're having little performances in boutique hotels. I was genuinely shocked by what I saw, and you can go look too. Go look at Tel Aviv.
Oh, you mean because Israel is a sovereign state that tries to protect its own citizens while Hamas hides its civilians above rockets? Would that be it?
Really shocking to see it in comparison with what is coming out on the ground from Gaza.
I have a question. Why is that remotely relevant? Why is that remotely relevant? That is like saying that I'm just shocked that on the same day that 1,500 Jews were being slaughtered in Kfar Aza, in the area of the Gaza envelope, if you look at the Instagrams of people who are up in the Galilee, which is not all that far away, many of those Instagrams were people at the beach. And well, yes, different things happen in different places at the same time. I know that that's quite shocking to you. The actual juxtaposition that this person who, with her tattoos and nose ring, would be murdered by Hamas immediately were she to set foot in Gaza. The actual juxtaposition that you will never draw, of course, is dead Jewish babies in Kfar Aza and Hamas putting civilians above its rockets in Gaza. That's the juxtaposition she'll never do.
I will say it to the day I die. I am so serious. This is not
ceasefire where?
In Palestine.
If we call for a ceasefire,
What?
How are we going to defeat Hamas?
That is a separate question.
Hamas bombed their own hospital.
That's not the truth.
The United States is beyond complicit. It is enabling Israel's genocide of Gazans and Palestinians.
Are you proud to be an American?
No.
So are you leaving the United States?
No.
Whenever there's an accusation of genocide against Palestinians, I have to say, worst genocide ever. Seriously, least successful genocide ever. Considering that at the inception of the State of Israel in 1948, there are approximately 1.2 million Arabs living in the area. They're currently in the State of Israel. A couple million Arabs living in the State of Israel, 2.5 living in the Gaza Strip, and 3 living in Judea and Samaria. So over 7 million people who are supposed to be the victims of a genocide that doesn't exist. We'll get to more on this in just one second. First, I want to talk to you about Daily Wire's most trusted privacy partner and premier sponsor of this show, ExpressVPN. You've heard me talk about how important it is to have a VPN to protect your online privacy, but choosing a VPN you trust is equally as important. I only recommend brands to my listeners I believe in. I can say with full confidence ExpressVPN is the best VPN on the market. ExpressVPN doesn't log your activity online. Lots of cheap or free VPNs make money by selling your data to advertisers, but ExpressVPN doesn't do that. They even developed a technology that makes their VPN servers incapable of storing any data at all. ExpressVPN now uses Lightway, a new VPN protocol they engineered to make user speeds faster than ever. I've tried a lot of VPNs in the past. They can sometimes slow my connection, but ExpressVPN is always blazing fast. It lets me stream videos in HD quality with no buffering. ExpressVPN, really easy to use. You don't need technical skills to get it set up. You fire up the app, you tap one button, you're connected, you're protected. That's so easy your grandparents could do it. To actually stop people from monitoring your online activity, you need to do what I do. Use ExpressVPN. Use my link at expressvpn.com/BenYT and get 3 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/BenYT, expressvpn.com/BenYT.
Asking hard-hitting questions.
So what brought you here today?
To support the Palestinians in this time of crisis.
And what's your biggest red flag in a guy?
If he is pro-Israel.
That's a no-go?
Definite no-go.
What if he's hot and makes 6 figures and has a good job in tech?
Still a no-go.
What if he's an actor?
Yeah, still a no-go.
What if he is a panda zookeeper?
I'll consider it.
These are people with strongly held principles. Also, by the way, that girl ain't gonna have a lot of options in any of those categories except panda zookeeper.
Israel was created to further Western nuclear and economic interests, so that the West could have a foothold in the Middle East from where the West can enforce an unequal, capitalist, global framework where the West hoards wealth and steals resources, not for the salvation of Jewish folks. The West quite literally has had existential fear about how it will hoard wealth since colonialism at large came to an end and since the end of chattel slavery. But Israel provides the West with moral cover to perpetuate colonialism, imperialism, and genocide. And the West told Jewish folks that their humanity would only matter if Palestinians did not have any.
What is this crazy?
Zionists, and I'm using the word
babbling
Zionists
out?
specifically, believe and perpetuate that lie. And this moral obfuscation provides the West with cover for the fact that the West is simply pushing forth genocide of Palestinians in order to hoard more wealth.
What the Okay, so let's go through that nonsensical bullshit. Whoa! Okay, so the idea that the West used Israel as an imperialist outpost. The British, when they had the British Mandate over this area, attempted to exclude Jewish immigration into the area in order to please the Arabs. When they left weapons to the Arabs. Israel was approved in its creation at the UN. Israel was approved by the USSR because the USSR thought it might be a socialist outpost. It started as a quasi-communist country, thanks to the kibbutzim. When she says that Jews were somehow convinced of Zionism, I would request that she look at a Bible or any siddur, any prayer book of the Jews. The notion that the West is exploiting and hoarding wealth from whom? The Palestinians? Yes, because of their enormous wealth? Where would that wealth be coming from? You mean like the Turkish traders who are on a stopover on the way to Mecca in like the Gaza region? What is she even jabbering about? What nonsense is this? Every element of what she's saying is just sheer nonsense, predicated on socialistic oppressor-oppressed narratives that make no sense at all in the real world.
This message is for Joe Biden. You've already lost. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. My generation is going to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you don't want to be forever remembered in history as Genocide Biden, I would call for the immediate ceasefire. Because right now, there's a little chance that you can get out of this as just a war criminal. But if you keep this up, your name will forever have thousands of bodies buried under it. People don't forget that.
I'm just going to point out here that this guy wants to elect Donald Trump. So good luck to him. I mean, that's hysterical. He's like, my generation is going to end Joe Biden for what he's doing about Israel. And then we're going to get Donald Trump, the most pro-Israel president in American history, elected. Okay. All right. Also, just a note, never take advice from a dude in his 1-bedroom apartment with no decorations on the walls and an eyebrow ring.
I'd call for an immediate ceasefire, unless you want that legacy on your name.
Oh, you've been warned. You've been warned, Joe Biden, by Rando McFace over here. This is a creepy, weird lady. Ooh. Wait, no. You mean that it was called Palestine by the Romans in 136 CE in order to mock the Jews, and that doesn't mean that there was ever a Palestinian state there because you are ignorant and stupid, young lady? For literally decades, Palestinians referred to Jews living in the area because it was called Palestine after the Philistines by the Romans to mock the Jews. But if you don't know history and you're a moron, then you just open a book and like, I know things now. I mean, I was pretty clear that she didn't know things just based on the decor of her room over there.
If Amy Schumer and Ben Shapiro are on your side, maybe you're on the wrong side.
Why they hate Amy Schumer?
Maybe if Osama bin Laden and Hamas are on your side, you're on the wrong side. You're not as clever as you think.
No, I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I have no great love for Amy Schumer, but that's a pretty weird coalition, like me and Amy Schumer. But you know, it's an even worse coalition, as he says, actual f***ing terrorists. Well, folks, I know that you enjoy watching me spend my days critique the morons on TikTok. So if you have more recommendations of videos you'd like me to critique, leave them in the comments.